there's nothing in there, if you haven't done, the work mentally and emotionally and physically and all the things, then when they need something, and they will definitely need something, you just have nothing to give. Mm-hmm. So it's, you got to fill your cup first, really.
Let's talk Tales. Today on Tales with Taylor, I'm with a dedicated mother and wife whom, after 14 years of building a family and life in Mexico, moved back home to sunny Phoenix, Arizona to advocate for the elderly. Passionate about supporting women, she is on the board of NABO and involved in Women for Women International, NO, and the Foundress. It's owner and president of Home with Help, Kimberly Mitchell. How are you today? Cheers.
Hi, Taylor. I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yes. Thank you for being here. So tell me the tale of waking up one day in Mexico after 14 years and saying, we're going back to Phoenix.
Well, that didn't quite happen in an overnight sort of moment. About 2 years before we made the move, I started to research what was happening in the nation and learning about this industry. We're not a franchise, but I went through a process, which is how I came across this industry and the possibilities. But decided I didn't really want anything to do with the franchise, just for the restrictions and whatnot. And it built up to that, because out of the 14 years that I was gone, I had a great grandma, all four of my grandparents, different reasons, but all of them, transitioning through home health and hospice and group homes and all that kind of stuff. So, just could see that there was a place that we could help.
Got it. So Home with Help, it just paints a perfect picture. It's one of those names where you know exactly what you do. So you go, I'm guessing, to people's homes and give them the support that they may need. So how do you choose people to join the team? You need to have caretakers. That's a tough job, to care for others. So how do you even, go about vetting who to join the team?
So all of our, what we call care professionals, most people would say caregivers, there's various things. Obviously, there's background checks that we have to check, APS sites. There's all kinds of new hire onboarding sort of things that have to get done. In the state of Arizona, our Medicaid version, family members can become paid caregivers, which a lot of people don't know. Most of the family members are doing it for free now anyway. So if, they obviously have to qualify financially and physically to get onto that program. The one I think the most important thing about the state side is that is how we get audited. So on my private pay side of the business, we still just ethically and morally still check all the same things and do all the same things, but nobody's really checking. And this is not a industry that is overseen as much as it probably should be. And, we're dealing with vulnerable adults.
Yeah.
But there's not like licensure really, because we don't do anything medical.
So is it not covered by insurance then, or is it?
Correct. Okay. So on the private pay side of the business, if they have a long-term care insurance policy that they happen to have gotten a long time ago, that will cover. But the traditional Humanas, Aetnas of the world don't currently cover the non-medical. And then the state side has that program through Medicaid that does cover.
Okay. So you've had the opportunity of probably meeting a lot of different people in their older stages of life. Is there a consistent activity they do or mentality that they have that maybe have helped people, have more cognitive abilities later in life, or just have what seemed like a happier output? Was there anything that you've noticed of those people whom maybe have lasted longer in a sense?
Generally speaking, I would say over the 10 years of doing this, that lifestyle overall is huge.
Okay.
Some of it is genetics, but it's a small very small percentage that you just kind of, that's sort of the luck of the draw. But I think the lack of exercise, proper diets, a lot of those kinds of things. I have clients that are 90 that took very good care of themselves and are, they can't drive, they can't like see as good. They're not quick, but they get up.
They're
and
90,
they're
though.
happy, right? Like sooner or later. But then we have clients that are 30 years younger that are just miserable. Their body's in pain, and they haven't haven't taken care of themselves. So I think just generally speaking, just the kind of the whole mind, body, spirit, exercise, eat right, that kind of stuff, I think is what makes the difference.
Yeah, I've read that, sitting is the new smoking.
Oh, yes.
That sedation. So getting up in the morning. And really I've heard too, like something about the morning sun, that vitamin D really makes a difference in your mood to start the day.
Sure.
So you're fabulous looking. What are some things that you do in order to keep yourself in shape and, with a positive mindset? Because you also always have a gorgeous smile. I have the pleasure of doing a lot of photography for NAVO. And as we mentioned, you're a part of NAVO. Yes. And I always know if I'm like, I've been scanning the room and I need to get a good smile, you're one of the go-tos that I'll go to. Like, all right, snap, good smile. I have a good smile from this event. So, what is it that you do to keep your spirits up so high and just to keep yourself in shape?
I move my body every day. So I box 3 days a week.
Oh, wow. So don't mess with Kimberly. Okay.
Well, it's a women's night boxing. It's like we're hitting bags and things, not people.
Still, you never know when those instincts will come in.
Stress reliever, though, that's for sure. You can always picture somebody if you really need to.
Right.
I spin 3 days a week. I lift weights. Like I do something every day and twice on weekends, assuming I'm in town. I wake up at 5 every day. I meditate. I have a journal. That's my tea. Like that's my first non-negotiable time in the morning. And of course, my house is insanely quiet at 5 a.m.
Okay.
And exercise at 6. And once 7 rolls around and somebody needs to be taken to school or phone starts going or all of the life things, then I think I'm set for the day at that point. So when the challenges happen and the fires need to get put out, and you take it with a grain of salt, so to speak.
So you mentioned 7 a.m., school drop off. So how many kids do you have? And, what are the age ranges?
I have 2 girls. They are 13 and 17.
Buckle
yes.
Up, right?
I know. So my Samantha is my oldest. She'll be 18 in December. She was born in Cabo. So I'm actually taking her and her, cousin/friend down for the weekend for her birthday in Cabo in December. So that'll be fun.
Nice.
She's in the middle of applications for colleges. So I'm only seeing dollar signs, but that's okay.
Well, tell her to also do the scholarships. You never know.
Oh, yes.
I actually got a Black sorority scholarship.
Really?
So you never know. You just got to try. You just got to ask. It was a 2-part scholarship, half written, half interview. I got past the written. I just made them laugh the whole time during the interview.
And they're like, you're in.
And they made a book scholarship. They actually made it was only for $1,500, but still I was able to help pay for books, so you never know. You just got to ask and try.
She's filled out a couple $1,000 thing here and there, but
they add up, they help.
Depending on where she goes, it's,
it might literally be a book.
Minimal. Yeah. There's that.
Yeah, literally a single book.
Kind of a scary concept, but whatever. We'll get through it.
We'll figure it out.
And then Sophia just turned 13. She is 7th grade.
Okay. Oof.
And so, that brings a whole, new set of challenges. She rides horses.
Oh, nice.
And she just started to do a hunter jumper a few months ago. So
are those the ones where you gallop and then jump over those?
Over the poles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, my niece does that in upstate New York.
Ah, very cool. Yeah. It was like a little little dangerous, but
it can be.
Barrel racing would have probably been worse. So this is maybe like a step down
Right.
in the worry.
And really, even just driving your car can be dangerous. So at the same time, you just got to live life and do what you enjoy. So as someone who is, growing a business and growing a family, what would be your biggest piece of advice from, maybe a fellow mother who is trying to grow her business?
With two very young ones.
With two very young ones. Yes, 5 and 2 right now. So,
I think as women, generally speaking, we try to do it all and, and expect ourselves to do it all. And if I could tell my younger self, it's gonna be okay, right? Like not to worry. Taking time for ourselves. Most of us kind of live and die by the schedule, whether it's the dogs or the kids or the business or whatever the case may be, sports, all the stuff.
Yes.
Right, but you'll add plenty.
We're
plenty
doing
more
baseball
things
right now. There's practice
so
Wednesdays, games on Saturdays. Yeah, just...
And I think that's partly why I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, because that is the only alone time that I generally get, unless I'm at a conference and have a hotel room to myself.
Right.
And I think for women's sanity to be able to. Whatever that, not everybody's into meditation, not everybody's into journal. Exercise, I think, is a non-negotiable, or it should be a non-negotiable on some level. You don't need to do it every day and twice on weekends like I do, but I think moving your body, the mind, the spirit, all of whatever that is, so you're in alignment, so that when, the hard stuff comes, because it's going to come, that you don't lose your mind in the process.
Yeah. And I think it is like figuring out what works best for your schedule. Like for you, you're able to do it, 5 in the morning perhaps. And then again on the weekends. For me, I do bathroom break workouts. So like literally every time I take a bathroom break, I'll then do, a 60-second plank, or I'll do some push-ups, or I'll lunge back to my office, or, something like that, just to try to fit it in. And it's like, okay, well, if I needed to, take a natural break, let's make it, worth it.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I can't personally do the afternoon exercise and evening kind of thing. Partially with schedule, and just partially I just don't like it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's getting up in the morning and, that having to be the start of the day. But there's lots of people that prefer to have it be the end of the day. And they do
so many people after work.
Journal, whatever, right? It's like whatever works as long as it's getting done.
Right, doing one thing. Yeah, it's I was reading, it was a newsletter from James Clear, and it was like, just do one is better than none. 1 minute meditation is better than 0 minutes of 1 minute of exercise better than 0. So yeah, it's like almost just doing that one.
Baby steps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Especially for people that are just starting. It's just take a couple minutes, and the next time, walk around 1 block, and then walk around 2 blocks, and then, whatever that looks like. Yeah.
So would you say that's even kind of a bit of parenting advice, is always making sure that you almost put your oxygen mask on first and take care of yourself?
Completely. Yeah. Because if you can't give from an empty cup. If there's nothing in there, if you haven't done, the work mentally and emotionally and physically and all the things, then when they need something, and they will definitely need something, you just have nothing to give. So it's, you got to fill your cup first, really. Yeah. And it's not, I think it's a very selfless thing to do, and to make sure, it's not like I get to put myself first all the time, but fill whatever your cup needs to be filled with. Like in a lot of my women's groups and things, it's, it feeds my soul to do that. So it's just, that's part of filling my cup as well.
Yeah, and I do see that, Home with Help does give back a lot to the community. I feel like I'm always seeing your booths at various events, and I saw that you were, doing something with some Scottsdale cookie creations group, or, I feel like you're always out there in the community. Why do you feel it's so important, not just for people to know you, but why do you feel it's so important to, give back and show up in the community?
Because it takes a village, with everything, whether it's you have small children, you need help of some kind, be it family or not. When you have aging family, you need the village, again, and all in between. Like you can't do it all on your own. And I think once you get into a position where you either have the time or the money or both to be able to give back, whatever that looks like, for some people it's $5, for some people it's $5,000, for some people it's 30 minutes of volunteer time, whatever,
Right.
like whatever if their passion is with animals or, whatever their thing is, that it's, I think you get more, like I get more out of it than they do, even though they're obviously, very appreciative and, grateful and whatnot for, whatever it is that, we've done. But yeah, I think philanthropy should be required in, schools for sure.
Yeah.
Because if we start them younger, they don't know any different. Like it's just part. And if everybody gave whatever they could, time, money, energy, whatever, I think just generally speaking, the world would be a better place.
Definitely. Yep. All just caring for each other.
Sure.
And I can understand you definitely have a heart, and that's where you picked a business where you got to have a heart involved. And so if someone was having an aging parent, how can one choose whether having, home with help is a good option or maybe going to a facility? How do you decide that differentiation between keeping them at home or bringing them to a home?
Well, there's probably a lot of factors that go into that decision for a family. Budget would be one thing. We have clients that have a lot of problems, but money is not one of them. And they have the luxury of being able to have somebody there 24/7 and bring in, whatever Hoyer lift or, whatever physical, mechanical type things that they might need because they can afford to do whatever they need to do.
Yeah.
For the majority of us that are kind of in the middle somewhere, we can only afford so many hours, per week. And then once you get to a certain point, we're not the most cost-effective decision. And then they need to start to look at like a group home or assisted living, based on the needs. So it's most elderly really want to stay at home. But it's a lot of the time it's usually like a financial decision more than anything.
Got it. Okay. But you would be able to provide them everything that they would have at a facility. It's just a matter of if you have the means to have someone come to your house,
sure.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then sometimes if it's not just the money, but they want the social part and like many people social. So some are happy and the caregiver will take them to do whatever social things that they want to do. But if they want to be surrounded by, doing bingo on Wednesdays and chair yoga on Fridays, or all the things that they have at assisted living communities, obviously I can't provide the masses in their own homes. So
right. You're not going to bring a bus full of people to their house for a party? Come on now, Kimberly.
So like there's community things, like community center type things. So there's day stuff. But if they're looking to kind of be surrounded by that social aspect of it, then, then going to a community makes more sense for them.
Okay. And then where in the valley do you serve? Obviously you're going to Plato's home, so, you need to be able to travel there. So
we have about 200 care professionals now. So I have clients and caregivers all around the valley.
Nice.
It's just a matter of, like wherever the need is where we go.
And are you looking to expand outside of Arizona at all?
I have been asked a few times about franchising, but I don't know, it sounds like an awful lot of work. And we're already insanely busy right now. So nothing I'm planning on doing today.
Got it.
We'll see how the years goes. But
so everyone needs to stay in tune with you. Make sure they're connected with you on social media to hear any other updates that you might
just
have.
In case we changed our mind.
You never know.
You never know what life will bring. That's for sure.
That's excellent. Awesome. And so, you said that Arizona was originally your home. So did you grow up in Phoenix and then
Yes.
lived in Mexico and then came back?
Correct. So I was
Excellent.
born and raised here. I left when I was 23.
Okay.
And I went to Cabo. I was there about a year and a half. Moved to Puerto Vallarta, which is where I met my husband, who happens to be Canadian.
Oh, okay. So an
So
American
we
and
have-
Canadian meet in
we
Mexico.
have-
I feel like this is a
right,
setup for a joke.
right. It could be an interesting joke. And we moved back to Cabo, which is when we had Samantha, and then went back to Vallarta, which is where Sophia was born.
Oh, wow.
And then we came back here when she was 2.
Okay. What made you decide to go to Mexico in the first place? You know, a lot of people are trying to do the opposite.
I was 23 and I could.
Okay,
And so
very nice.
I was,
Power to you.
I had gone in September of 99 with a friend and had met lots of other expats that are like in their, various ages. But of course, at the time, me being in our 20s, like we were spending time with all the other, 20 something.
Yeah.
She was from New York.
Okay.
Dominican Republic is her background, but I believe she was born in Brooklyn. And we had just been there on a holiday and was like, oof, I think I kind of want to know more about this. So she goes home, I go home. Of course, back then we're not texting and there's not, smartphones and things. So a couple phone calls, a couple emails, and it's like, I think maybe, and she's like, me too. So we should go back just to like make sure we're not in holiday brain mode and make really dumb decisions. So we went back Thanksgiving and just 2 months later and found out like what it would take for work visas and work in general and all the things. And then we moved February of 2000.
Wow.
And she's still there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. She's traveled, but she's never lived anyplace else since February of 2000.
Wow.
I know. Kind of crazy.
Was that difficult to get a work visa and all the things? I've never really, I've visited, but it's a totally different ballgame.
Experience.
Yeah.
My understanding is over the years, I think they have made it more difficult.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought
But
too.
it's still relatively easy to do. But I think back then it was a lot easier.
And then was it easy to come back into the States?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, probably because you already had a birth certificate and things of that sort.
And
So was it more difficult for your
passports
husband being Canadian, or was that not an issue at all getting him to Phoenix?
No, I mean we had been married at that time for years, and had bank accounts to all the things,
all those
and so
things.
then it was just like the massive amounts of paperwork that you have to do and the back and forth of sending all of the things in. But it wasn't. It was more of a nuisance than it was anything else.
Right.
But eventually, then he finally did his citizenship test, and
Okay, so he has a citizenship.
yes,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, my dad, he has been living in the States since he was 5 years old and still doesn't. He still has his green card. He's still
Where
a
is
Canadian.
he from? Oh,
Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
He's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm good.
If you don't it's just
It's
if
just
you want to vote.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I'm just like, okay, you just can't complain then.
Well,
Let's
there's
bring
that. Exactly. If you don't vote, you
That's
zip
it. That's pretty much, you vote just to be able to complain. I think that's really it.
Either way.
Either way, because even if the person you wanted gets in, you can still complain that they didn't do what you thought they were going to do.
Of course, right?
Or vice versa.
Which
you
I'm
can
sure
complain.
everybody will find something to complain about.
Always, yeah. Oh man, one of my clients, he has this comment in his keynote. It's like, who would you be if you had nothing to complain about?
Sad but true.
Right.
Right.
It's just like, he's like, that's actually your true self. It's-
You're right.
Right,
That's
it's so
funny.
interesting,
My
'cause-
grandfather would always say something like, like, how you doing? And he'd say, I'm not going to complain because no one's going to listen to me anyway.
Poor guy. That's sad.
Well, not that people didn't listen, but I think it was just more of like, no one really wants to hear somebody just complaining just to complain.
Just to complain. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, unless we're going to have some solutions behind it. That's the one.
Sure. Yes. Right. Which is why try to sort of tell the staff, it's like, I realize that there's a problem, but come at it with a solution, even if that's not what we end up deciding to do, but at least have like an idea of how we might fix the problem.
Right, exactly. I know. I always kind of wait for the other shoe to drop when someone complains, and it's like, like, carry on.
Next?
Totally. That is awesome. So when I look at your logo, did you have like a lot of thoughts on choosing those color schemes? I always wonder, because like yellow, it's definitely very bright, the sun, the shining, the the hope of light. And then, the darker, warm kind of blue. I was curious, and I just wanted to hear, the story behind your logo and your brand.
Because it was unique, because it was different. And that blue-green, which sometimes has been kind of a pain to find certain things that they can match the color on, but, it's okay. And Lisa, who helps me with all of the promotional products and whatnot, she helped to kind of design and figure out the colors, and they stick out. Like
yes,
they're different.
They definitely stick out. And I do like thinking the psychology behind colors too. I think when I was in college learning about film and video, you learn why do you put certain tones of light in, or why would you have someone wear a certain color to portray those psychologies. And so I kind of put that idea into business, and I always try to look at, especially if I'm working with a startup and they don't have a brand, it's like, okay, let's think about the psychology. Who is your target audience, and what do you want them to feel? And so I do feel like when you look at that, you feel like that it's warm, but bright. It's not passive. You know that there's some action happening within that help because of the yellow. And so that's very interesting. So I was just kind of
haven't
curious.
Had anybody like do a psychology on the logo before.
Well, and before I focused my energy on only video, I went to, a regular 4-year college where I took like psychology, sociology, philosophy. I remember sitting with the counselor, and they were like, what the hell do you want to do? Because you're taking credits all over the place. And I was like, I need to leave and go to a trade school, or else I'll never get out of college.
Because you just like had a passion for learning?
It was just interesting to learn. Something about having that catalog of options. It was dangerous.
I'll do that one.
Yeah, I did women's studies. I was going for communications, but still, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm a woman. I think I should know more about women's studies. I did aquatics because why not? They had a pool.
Because I can.
Because I can, exactly. Just like the Mexico, because I can.
Because I can.
Yeah, I was young and didn't really think so much about the bills at the time. You're just like, I want to take this class. I'll take this class, whatever.
So funny.
Taking 17 and a half credits as a freshman.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
and working 40 hours a week. I was a manager at a restaurant.
Whoa.
Yeah. And living a half hour away from all of it. So I'm like driving home at, 11:30 at night and getting back down into town early.
The business and the kids, you'll be fine.
Right, exactly. I've already had the practice with that, right? Exactly.
You'll be fine.
And so not business advice, but just straight parenting advice, other than, putting your own oxygen mask. What would be some pieces of advice you'd give people? And girls too, because I have a girl. So I'd love to, get some future insight before she's a teenager.
All right.
What should I do?
What should I do?
Perhaps just drink more of this, right?
That can be very helpful sometimes. Let me think about that. I guess I would say the open communication in both directions. So that, obviously they're children, so you can't share too many heavy adult things with them, until they're adults themselves. But I think if we're vulnerable and open and sharing things from, when we were younger, when they ask questions, that then they are comfortable to come and talk to you. Because when it gets to a certain age, there's things that are uncomfortable in general. And them just, mom, a text or a phone call or, knock on the door. And that I think that they know that they can come and, without judgments, and will love them regardless.
I think that's the key, the without judgment.
Screw it up, right? But that's how we all learn, Yeah. So, if you don't have some mistakes and some failures, we don't grow as humans. So try to allow them to totally mess up something and be there for, them to pick up the pieces, but they need to be the ones to fail, and then they need to be the ones to put it all back together. You're just kind of there to make sure they don't go over the edge.
Right. Definitely. Like, in business, they say fail fast. And it's kind of, you can apply, I think, anything that you learn in business into life too. Fail fast. Sure. But don't treat it as a failure. Treat it as a learning opportunity. So I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah. I have a friend that would always say, fail forward.
Fail forward. That's better than fail fast. I'd rather fail forward.
Right.
But not hopefully straight on my face.
We're all going to do something. Well, right. Yeah. Fail forward and brace yourself.
Embrace yourself. Catch yourself. Right. Catch yourself on the way down.
Exactly. Yes. Because we're all going to have them, whether it's personal or business or whatever.
It's so true. I don't know why we get harder on ourselves the older we get. When you watch a child learn to walk for the first time, it's guaranteed they're going to fall. And we get so excited and we clap for them that they fell.
Sure.
And we encourage them to get back up. But why is it, as we get older, it's like, oh, I fell and I need to even put my own self down. It seems like we're so negative in our own mind and, and we put ourselves down. But when we were a little kid, you get back up without even thinking about it. And your daughter who's riding a horse, she is living the true metaphor. You fall off a horse, you just get back up, right?
3 times.
Oh, goodness. Oof.
And luckily she was never really hurt other than, just the shock or whatnot. But yeah, they make her get right back up on that same horse. They'll give her a few minutes just to pull herself together. Yeah. If you're knock the wind out of yourself or a little shocked or something. But it's like literally get back up on the horse and don't wait, because some people will never get back on.
Wow, that's amazing. What's your favorite animal with a tail? Is it a horse?
My favorite animal in general is an elephant.
They have a tail. It's little.
They do. They do.
Elephant. What makes the elephant your favorite animal?
Even though they are massive, that they are very graceful, and they're actually pretty smart, and they're family oriented, and they're just, I don't know, they're majestic.
They are. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference between the Indian or the African elephant? The ear size or the size of them in general?
I've been to Africa. I've been to South Africa twice. I've been to Zimbabwe. I've been to Zambia. Been to, oh my goodness.
What got you? Did you just go
Kenya
for fun all these different places?
And Tanzania.
Wow.
But I have not been to India. So other than just seeing pictures or, documentaries or whatnot, I've not seen an Indian elephant in person. So I can't
little
answer
bias
that.
there then.
Yeah, a little bit.
So was that just for fun to travel, or did what got you to do it? That's awesome.
The very first time we went to South Africa was 2005. And our guide, the driver, it's kind of a long story, but him and one of his best friends were planning on backpacking in Central or South America or something. And we said, you could come and stay and pass through and, even work a little if you wanted or whatnot. They ended up staying with us for 10 months, almost a year. That was right before I had Samantha. So that October, they both had gone back to Durban in South Africa. We had seen them a couple times over the years, and we went back the second time for his wedding.
Oh, very cool.
And there was a surprise birthday thing that I had done for Wes in Boston, and him and his wife had flown out. And then we just saw them again when we were in Tanzania. Their business is planning safaris and and vacations for people in India and in Africa. Yeah, they do a fabulous, fabulous job. So they planned it all, and then they surprised us the last few days when we were in Tanzania, which was lovely.
Very cool. I'll have to, get that information. Literally, my interview before you they were talking about how they would love to go on a safari.
Oh, that's so funny.
I was like, oh wow.
Well, I can give them a plug. It's Mammoth Safaris.
Mammoth Safaris. Yeah. Okay, very cool.
They do a very, very good job. Yeah, so ended up being a lifelong friend.
That is so cool. It's amazing how your travel journeys have gotten you lifelong friends. You know, the woman that you said is still in Mexico, that was from Brooklyn. You know, your husband you met through traveling, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
It's always been a priority. Like it was never not an option. And I remember being, much younger and not having any money at all, not much to speak of. But it would, it could be like a day trip to Sedona or, just something that was not terribly, expensive, but just to get out and, nature, whatever your, thing is.
In Arizona, we have an abundance of locations to go to.
Oh, yes.
We live right by the Lost Dutchman. You have Sedona, the Grand Canyon.
Sure.
It's amazing how this is the Grand Canyon state. And yet when people ask me where should they visit, Grand Canyon's not on the top list.
It's so funny.
I'm always like, well, you gotta go to Sedona.
I was in my 30s before I saw the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, 30s. Exactly. I don't know. What is it about it? It's not going anywhere. We'll see it.
And right. I mean, it is beautiful.
It is, yeah.
But I just never I wanted to go other places, not, within the same state. Yeah. So it was, traveling and just, I don't know, going lots of places. I'd like to get to all 50 states. I think I'm at 26 or 27 now.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So which ones, what are going to be the next top 3 states to visit then? We're not going to go through all the ones that you haven't gone to yet, but what are going to be the next top 3?
Washington, D.C.
Okay. It's my old neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
spend like 3 days there, at least.
The NABO 50th anniversary in June is in DC.
Excellent.
I don't know that I have another new state that's on the list
radar.
in the next little while.
Okay.
I think in March for spring break, I think we're going to go to Roatan. It's in Indonesia.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah. The water looks amazing.
That's excellent.
Yeah. I do miss living at the beach.
Yeah. No, you don't get much of that here at the desert, but I'll tell you, we still have a lot of opportunities. We do have Lake Havasu. We're close to California. We're close to Rocky Point. I feel like we can strategically plan our vacations so well here. Back east, it's like, snow comes and you got to deal with the snow. Here, we can strategically plan to see the snow. So I appreciate that.
Right. Yes. You can go get in it and get out.
Yes, exactly.
Not have to shovel just to get to your car or some nonsense.
That's the worst because, the highways were always well kept and fine, but not your neighborhood. So it's like you'd have to shovel your way out of your neighborhood just to get to work on time.
Oh, yeah. I have no idea what that's like.
Oh, it's terrible. It's so not.
Yeah. And I have zero desire to find out.
Yeah. Good. The people who are like, I love the seasons. I'm like, yeah, you can and visit them strategically.
Right.
Just, you don't have to live in it.
Live in it.
Yeah.
Which is why there's massive amount of transplants here.
Yeah.
Because all of the weather and some of those
Myself and my husband, we're both transplants. And, he had moved here for school with the thought he was going to move back to Michigan when he was done.
Mm-hmm.
For me, though, I never even visited Arizona, but I saw the weather. I saw, some of the areas online. I saw I could afford it. So I was like, I'm done going.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of people, I think, like they came here for college and then they just never left.
Right. Why? And especially, 10, 15 years ago, it was so much more affordable, but it's still great. And in comparison, Maryland is still more expensive. And yet you still have to deal with the snow, cold, humidity. It's just not worth it.
Right. Yeah. And the cost of living there is by far more than
it's so much.
Lots of places.
So expensive. Yeah. I would be having to pay the same price to live in like the middle of nowhere, it would feel like, in comparison.
Sure.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So tell me then, you're well-traveled. What are some books maybe you like to read when you're on the plane rides? I don't know about you, but I love a good plane ride to either get a good book in or to even write myself. Are there books or anything that you enjoy reading?
I love to read. I, generally speaking, just kind of a day-to-day, I usually kind of switch from like a self-help sort of type of a book and then some murder mystery nonsense that's, brainless. And just whatever I happen to be reading at the time is just whatever I take with me, because I'm like, once I start, I have to finish, and I can't really do two at the same time. Like, more power to the people that can. I'm kind of jealous, but I can't do that.
Right.
Like, I need to just finish the one and then, call it a day. So, it just kind of depends. I sort of switch back and forth. So it's not all like personal development, because I think that, it's everything in moderation. And then, I think a lot of those books are very helpful. So I wouldn't want to just like do murder mysteries all the time either. So I try to like kind of switch sort of every other one. And being on the beach and reading is nice when it's kind of like, it could be either one. It could be something where I'm able to sort of focus and, have more clear head at the ocean, just because it totally like feeds my soul. But sometimes the mindless sort of murder mystery type book, you don't really have to think very much. Sometimes that's lovely too.
Yeah, well, you got to be entertained sometimes too.
Yes.
I think the brain always wants to, have education and entertainment. And so it's like giving that nice blend between the two. So whether it is, a self-help or, personal development book or mystery novel, what's your favorite tale you've ever read?
Oof.
You were going to give us one book recommendation. What's going to be that one that you're like, I love that one?
I don't remember the author's name. I think the name of the book is The Alchemist.
Oh, yes. I've heard of that one.
Yeah,
yes.
It's good.
Okay.
It's been a minute, but yeah, it's good if I'm forced to choose one.
Yes, you are forced to choose one. Excellent.
I mean, you mentioned James
Clear.
Yes, so the Atomic
Habits.
That book is really, really good too. But that's, kind of, The Alchemist is a story, but in it is kind of self-help within the story, as opposed to something like Atomic Habits or, others like those that are really just personal development kind of, sort of books.
Yeah, well, sometimes, even the fiction books, you can find those personal development tokens. I remember in high school reading Ayn Rand's Anthem was one of them for me. They eliminated the I in their community. There was no I. There was no self-identification.
Oh.
And it was kind of like that stripping away of self-identity. And it kind of made me think, in high school, it's like, wow, the idea of self-identity and things. So... yeah, and that was a total fiction book, but you can still sometimes get those little nuggets from that. Oh, yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And I think that's kind of like what the Alchemist was, is that you get some of that development out of it, but it's a novel, really, at the end of the day.
All right. Yeah, I've definitely heard of that one. Have not read or listened to it. And I will say listen, because Audible is definitely what I lean on quite a bit when it comes to, driving kids or helping kids get to sleep. I can at least put a little headphone in while I cuddle with them and try to get a little information in.
Maybe I should try those. I've always been like a very, have the book in my hand.
Which I love on the beach.
Not an iPad, not
Same.
like anything, like just an actual book. So I haven't gotten into the audio, but because usually I'm like blaring the music in the car and instead.
So what's your music choice?
Maybe I should try the audiobook.
What's the song you're blaring lately?
Oh, I don't know, like that there's a song, but I kind of lean sort of towards like indie music more than anything. I mean, I have, there's pop, there's country, like I have a lot of stuff on the playlist, but kind of like my go-to, I would say, is probably more like indie music.
That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And you got to do that too, though, because music's the same thing as that entertainment. It's just giving your mind that little bit of like relaxation time to just not focus so much. I won't lie, doing Audible, if you need to pay attention to directions, not a good choice. Because your mind is either on the directions or it's on the Audible.
It's like, I have to turn this down so that I can figure out where I'm going.
Isn't it interesting how you do that? You're driving and then you're listening to music. It might be a song you even know, but you have to turn it down just to be able to focus and think about where to go.
It's true. It's a thing.
It is a thing. I don't understand the power of
I don't really
thought.
get it, right? Because it really doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't really need to turn it down to turn right or turn
Yeah,
left.
I guess I can hear my own thoughts louder that way.
Maybe that's it.
So maybe that's it.
That's funny.
Excellent. What about favorite movies? Do you have a favorite movie or a top 5 favorite movies?
Oh, I love to go to the movies. It's been a minute since I've been to the theater because now, of course, you can stream everything at home.
Yeah, it's so true. I almost feel bad for theaters because it's just so easy now to just be at home.
Sure, and people have massive big screen televisions
we
and
have
speakers.
Like a
and all the
150-foot projector at our house.
Well,
like
of course you do. I don't, and she probably doesn't, and most people probably don't.
Well, with it being with football season, it's fun. You get to see them life size.
Yeah.
People ask, "Oh, you want to go to the game and tailgate?" It's like, yeah, but then sit in the nosebleeds and they look this big, but I can see them this big.
Right, and I can just go to my fridge and my bathroom whenever I want.
Whenever I want to, I can pause the game. I can fast forward commercials.
Yes, that's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I grew up with the 80s music and the 80s movies, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah. The Brat Pack.
That's funny. I'm a huge baseball fan, so I would buy Bull Durham. It's not for youngins.
No,
but it's a good movie.
I'm not asking recommendations for my kids.
Yeah. I'm like, that's probably a bad idea. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot from back then, like Dirty Dancing and Pretty Woman and
Breakfast Club.
Yes. 16 Candles.
Footloose.
Yes.
There's a lot of good ones.
Right? Flashdance. Oh yeah. I mean, there are like endless amounts from the 80s that were really, really good.
And it's like, I just feel like a perfect party, just 80s playlist. Like just make an 80s playlist and I just feel like you're going to have
almost
a perfect party.
Everybody. And the young kids now, I mean, they have loads of stuff from the 80s on their playlist.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Well,
I'm amazed too. I was picking up my daughter from her Montessori school and I saw, like a young kid like wear like a Nirvana shirt. And I was just like, oh, you like Nirvana? They're like, no, I have no idea. I'm like, oh, okay.
They bought it at Target or
yeah, something like that. And then I came in with a Pink Floyd shirt and they're like, do you actually listen?
Do you even know that?
I'm like, yes, Animals is my favorite album.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it's funny though. And I feel like the older I get too, I'm seeing how like my mom would always talk about like, oh, and I would wear flare jeans. And she's like, I remember when flare jeans were popular.
It's
just so interesting how things just rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat.
Some things should stay in certain decades.
Yeah,
we
like
should
bleached
not bring
pants.
them back. But it seems like history tends to repeat itself.
Yeah,
whether
all
it's
the time.
Good or bad.
yeah. I don't understand that. That's interesting. So I wonder, the elderly that you're working with, within Home with Help, when they see caregivers come in and they're like, oh, that's something I used to wear.
Right? Yes. Yeah, because I think like the bell bottoms are kind of coming back now.
I feel like a lot of like 90s styles is coming back. At least that's what I've seen. Like the high rise, kind of mom jeans look.
Yes.
The two-tone like plaid, skirt with like the plaid tops, kind of the Clueless look and things I've seen here and there.
As long as we're not going to have like the massive hairspray hair situation again.
I think luckily the younger generation is more concerned about the environment to do that.
Oh, this is good.
So yeah, that's one good thing.
That would be one of the things we could just leave back there.
Just stay.
Just stay.
And so we're definitely going to be putting, links to all of your social media platforms and your website. But which social platforms are you most active on, and how should people stay connected with you and everything that you're doing?
Mostly, like Home with Help has a Facebook page. There's Instagram and LinkedIn, I think, are probably like the top 3. I mean, obviously, just on our webpage, people can find out whatever information they want. And the main phone number, my husband or myself answers it all the time.
So does your husband help you in the business?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. So he's part of the business. Does he do something else on the side too, or is it
No. So I'm the president and he's the vice president.
Excellent.
And says I get to be the boss at home and at the office.
I completely relate. That is amazing.
Which I'm sure a lot of women do.
Right. And so, I know people always ask me the question, but I don't think it's quite fair for myself because we started our business actually before we were a couple, before we were even boyfriend and girlfriend, we started the business. And people are like, oh, how do you work with your spouse? And it's like, well, we already had these divisions of labor established.
Oh, sure.
So what would be a suggestion to you? Like, how do you work well with your spouse? Like, do you just compartmentalize and say, like, this is our business selves and this is our home selves? Or, how do you, work that?
The first year, him and I just together did everything. And then slowly, the second year, we had a part-time admin person to help, and then, full-time. And, each year was just kind of sort of adding on. And then it was pretty much like divide and conquer. And so he has a couple of ladies in the office that help him with the private pay clients and schedules and interviewing caregivers, that kind of stuff. And then the state side is a bit more of a monster. So I have more admin that help on that side to deal with everything. And so we do different things, within the business. So we aren't, like we're not like kind of like dealing with the same stuff, together all the time, which probably makes it easier.
I would agree. Yeah, I think that's probably the key, is like making sure you each have your separate roles. Because I feel like with Eric and I, it's the same thing. Like, he's the lead editor, tech person. I am not that at all.
Well, it's like find the weaknesses and the strengths.
Exactly.
And then, try to, have whoever has that strength to do that, job and vice versa.
That's excellent. Yeah, I had no idea that your husband was in the business with you. That's very cool.
Well, because he's not in the office, works from home, and then he doesn't do any of the,
networking,
the groups and stuff. Yeah.
And with that, train of thought with the groups, if people in the Valley wanted to see you in person, tell me a little bit more about the groups that you're a part of, NAWBO, No, and Foundress.
Sure. So NAWBO stands for National Association of Women Business Owners. This is their 49th year as an association.
Wow.
All of them are women's groups. All of them are women helping women. All of them are networking, if you will. NAWBO has a distinctive difference because they are huge in advocacy for women in business. And I think it's HR 5050, if I'm not mistaken, was the law that they helped to get passed 1988, which is not that long ago, which is kind of insanity when you think about it. That prior to that, women in business had to have a male counterpart to sign on loans and things. So husband, brother, son,
so crazy,
whatever, right? It's not,
we have the power to birth you,
really,
but not the power to start our business.
Pretty much. So that was a very big deal that they were a part of that. The No Women, so KNOW, the Foundress. I know there's another one, and I just can't for the life of me think of what it is right now. But they are, generally speaking, all either like business owners or CEO, high level women, and just trying to grow their business and have we help each other at the same time, be it actual referrals or connections or she has a community, a charity event that she does each year. So there's a bunch of us that are gonna do a table or donate or whatever. So again, it's the village.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not familiar with the other organizations, but NAWBO I've also been a part of for many years now, and it's definitely a supporting group. That's really what you could say. Yes, there's networking,
Sure.
Yes, there's referrals, but it's just support, whether it is knowledge, a connection, a business referral. Definitely highly agree. Anyone who's looking to grow their business, especially as a woman business owner, to look for those organizations.
Yeah, the support locally. There's chapters all over, online. The national level has all kinds of webinars and classes and information to help. And we have different tiers of membership. So they have a next generation for women business owners. Not an age necessarily, but as long as the business is 3 years or less, or they aspire to open one somewhere within the next 3 years. And
I didn't know that.
High school person, college person, or 55-year-old that doesn't want to be in corporate America anymore and starts whatever she starts, as long as it's in that 3 years. And then it's a much lower membership fee. It's just kind of help sort of, get their feet wet and get them started.
Excellent. I'll definitely keep that in mind, as I'm talking to, college kids and things like that. That's excellent.
For sure. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Kimberly, this was just such a fun time.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you. What, if anything, whether it's being a mom, because obviously you're a very successful mom, being a business owner, because you're a very successful business owner, what's the one piece of advice you'd want people to remember?
Right? I think being kind, and kind not just to others, but to yourself will get you a long, long way in the world, I think.
Okay. So everyone, be kind, drink some wine, and everything will be fine, right? Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching Tales with Taylor. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the Financial Potion YouTube channel to never miss an episode.